Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh Weekly. As always, I'm Robo, and I'm going to warn you up front. This is very Star Wars heavy. It's not my fault it was May the 4th. I didn't make that holiday up. Companies trying to sell Star Wars merchandise did. But if it gives Hasbro an excuse to give us more Star Wars figures, then I can't complain too much. They're on a hot streak right now. The roller coaster, it's in the fun part where you're like, yeah! Instead of the part where you're like waiting in line to, hey, is something gonna happen at some point? So I'm enjoying the ride at the moment, as I tend to do, you know. But, hey, if it's up here, it's up here, right? But first, McFarlane Toys Page Punchers fight the Frozen. This was sneak peeked last week with a montage of the figures and a looming steampunk deep sea diver. But now there's solicitations and pretty promotional pictures. Basically, this is Mr. Freeze accidentally sending himself 16,000 years into the past and then starting an ice age in an attempt to get back, all while Caveman, Batman, and crew try to stop him. A little on the nose, but I'm not reading the comic. I'm admiring the toys. Take Robin. He has all the essential Robin design elements. Like, if you threw this figure at me Go-Gurt style, or Captain America, I'd look at it. Yep, that's Robin. I mean, the 16,000-year-old R emblem on the chest is a dead giveaway. Same goes for Batgirl. It's Batgirl, just a lot more primal. I especially like the teeth or claws strapped to the forearms to give it that traditional Batgirl costume look for her gloves. And that carries over to Batman, who has gotten the caveman treatment a time or two before this, if I remember right. I don't know. I don't read a lot of modern DC. The bat-shaped stone hanging from his neck gave me a giggle, but I love the bat-themed weapons. I mean, even 16,000 years ago, he had to keep it all. And this is a bat, and this is a bat. Here's a bat club, and a bat spear, and my bat fur costume thing. The sculpt jumps out at me, though. It skews a bit away from what we're used to with DC Multiverse, and I know this isn't DC Multiverse. This is 7-inch Page Punchers. But up to this point, they've kept that same style and articulation scheme, but this, it's different. It's the proportions or musculature, almost like there's a different sculptor at work here who's still working within the realm of multiverse, but did their own thing and said, here you go, take it or leave it. But then there's Mr. Freeze, and like we said, he kind of stands out against the rest, but it makes sense once you take the story beats into consideration. Yeah, make your Bioshock comments, I can see that, but for me, I just like the oddballiness of it, except for the eyes. It makes me think of an emoji, or one of those masks that blinks digital, and it doesn't help that on the figure they're just surprised round, but on the cover art, they're angry. Speaking of that, I like that each character comes with their own solo cover. It gives them more of a spotlight, and it works into the whole presentation as an action figure. More than that, though, McFarlane seems to be changing the packaging to a clamshell type situation. Oh man, a sealed package and an included comic book? That doesn't give you any nostalgia tugs, does it? Sitting in a parking lot wondering how the hell you're going to open this thing? I just want to play with the toy! I'm guessing it's because this is under the DC Direct banner. They want it to feel a little bit more premium for the $25 price tag. Or they're just like, hey Hasbro, you taking your plastic out of your packaging? Watch this. All plastic. Or maybe it's just sexy. Who cares? There's the figures. If you want them, links are in the description. That Batman is a bit barbarian-like. Is it okay to segue into Super 7's Conan the Barbarian ULTIMATES Wave 5? This time it's Battle of the Mound themed, and they've given Conan his best horse-maiming face. What? That's the face he has when that horse is running at him, and he just swings the sword and knocks that horse right out from under the guy. Also seen in a lot of other movies. It's Arnold. In fact, I'd argue that it's a better likeness than the neutral face. And like I always say, Ultimates is gonna Ultimates with the articulation scheme, the exaggeration of muscles and proportions. But man, that is one big honking sword. But I think it's been that way with every Conan, if I'm not mistaken. There's also Subutai with his trusty bow and arrow and spear. You can't forget the spear. I'm not sure he'll be able to pull off this pose, but the closer I look, the more I realize that, yeah, the arm is sticking out like this, and then probably some 90-degree bend coming around the hand, the wrist doing some of the work, getting the bow. So maybe. Valeria is looking a bit sparse in the accessory department, but ooh, this Valkyrie look, that was the way to go. It's based on a couple of seconds of appearance. There wasn't really a lot else to do here unless you were just going to throw random weapons in there too, which we'll get to in a second. And then Battle of the Mount Thulsa Doom rounds out the assortment, and look, James Earl Jones gets to wear armor. A lot more muscled up than what we saw in the movie, but again, it's Ultimates. It's exaggerated. It fits within the Ultimate style. $55 scheduled for February 2024, but wait, there's more. Like we saw with the last G.I. Joe Ultimates assortment, if you order the whole set directly from Super 7, you're gonna get a super special accessory weapons pack. A lot of them are just the included weapons with blood splatter, but extra plastic is extra plastic. If this is your thing, there you go. Thanks to Preternia on Twitter and Toy Collector Magazine, here is our first look at the NECA Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the last, I keep trying to say Last Samurai. The Last Ronin. Karai and Raphael. I haven't been following the story, so I don't know what's going on here, but I've always been a sucker for battle-damaged figures that go a little over the top. It's okay when they tear and tatter the costume a bit, have some blood showing, and that's exactly what this variant of the standard Last Ronin Raph does, but then it adds with the arrows sticking out and everything, and I look at it and I think, man, that's a hell of a display piece right there. I didn't even catch the one going all the way through his leg. It reminds me of that old Wolverine pinup where he's crouched down, ready for battle. But while we're talking Marvel parallels, come on. Dark, wavy-haired female ninja in red getting stabbed with a sai. And I'm not just talking about the red of the costume, I'm talking about the costume itself, the design. This has to be on purpose. Again, I don't know the story, maybe it's an homage of some sort. And in that case, it works beautifully, but how do you get past copyrights with that? I guess we'll find out more later, at least when it comes to the toys. I don't know what's going on in the books. Stepping into Marvel proper, here's Mezco with a surprise drop of their 1/12 Collective Silver Centurion Iron Man. The basic parts and pieces, especially like here and a little bit of here and here, looks to be reused from previous Iron Mans, but then the rest have been appropriately changed to make it that old silver and red, and I love that look. Not a perfect direct from comic translation, but it's Mezco. They always Mezco-fy things up a bit with the edges and the extra details, but the spirit is definitely there. I know this costume has some defining factors that separates it from the old yellow and gold, but for me, it's the shoulder pads. Here, it makes it wider up top. It kind of hides the bulbous shoulders we've seen on the Mezco Iron Man so far, but then it takes away the hip discs, so it exposes the hips a bit. The V shape of it, yeah, it's very this costume. It's very Silver Centurion-y. Because I'll admit, the silver and red is high up on the list. There's some version of red and gold. It changes from time to time because there were so many versions of that. And then stealth at second. This is a solid third, and that's respectable considering all the armors over the years. Saying all that, as I'm recording this, Mezco hasn't actually put this up for pre-order yet, so all I'm going by is their initial reveal of the figure just standing there. Hopefully by the time I'm editing this, the pretty promotional pictures will be out, and that's what you've been looking at the whole time. So if that is the case, look at that. Oh man, that's awesome. I'm really liking this. Iron Man. Silver Centurion. Yep, there you go. It's a certain price point, and it'll come out in a certain time period. Sometime in the future. There you go. There's that hard-hitting reporting that everybody loves when they come to the Fwoosh. Keeping with Marvel, like we've talked about, Hasbro cannot go a week without putting something Marvel Legends up, and this week was no different. And that is not a bad thing. No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to all the rest of you. That's right. No, it's not. This week, we got a pre-order for the Avengers 60th Anniversary Thor vs. Destroyer. Like other recent solicitations, we saw this back during a live stream, so we knew it was coming, but there were still some surprises. Like the masked head. Didn't know it was coming, but it's a welcome surprise because a lot of people were hoping for that. For me, though, the draw is Destroyer. I know it's just a big bastard in metal bands and spikes, but it's such a classic design. And a great upgrade to the Toy Biz version that was kind of scrawny. Still okay, but this is... But I hear you, and I agree. It's very similar to the Marvel Select version. In fact, I own that and I like it. Wherever it may be. It's in a box over there somewhere. I didn't realize that was going for crazy prices though. So this at $60 seems like a hell of a deal. Comparatively speaking. Yeah, you know, you have to... And really, hell, it seems like a deal compared to most modern Legends. It's a big beefy Thor and then a 9-inch Destroyer. And now that I've said that out loud, that doesn't sound right. But I'm keeping it in. Not stopping there, it looks like next week's going to be more of the same, with the Hasbro crew teasing the Hawkeye and Sky Cycle set. Look at that thing. But like I said, lots of Star Wars this week, so buckle up. And yep, I already did a quick initial reaction rundown video, but now that I've had time to fine-tooth comb the pictures, I have more thoughts and feelings, because... why wouldn't I? Okay, not so much for the GameStop exclusive gaming greats Battlefront 2 Battle Damage General Grievous. The blast marks spruce it up slightly, I guess, but I still do not care for this base figure. If you're Grievousless, I guess it'll do in a pinch, but again, like I said during the rundown, if you want to put a little elbow grease in, grab the model kit. And then take some weathering sticks or some pastels or something and do the battle damage yourself. It's fun. Give it a try. For Darth Malgus, thank you everyone for pointing out that he's not from Knights of the Old Republic. He's from the Old Republic. I humbly apologize. And now it's probably like, well, he actually did kind of make an appearance in Knights of the Old Republic, and according to this canon in this video over here, and comes back around and Doesn't matter. Point still stands. He's big, he's badass, he's gonna look awesome on the shelf. He is gonna be a menace to my Star Wars display, because... just look at him. It's Book of Boba Fett Din Djarin that got most of my attention after the rundown video, though. And I know first glance, it's like, oh, well, great. Another Mando. But you start nitpicking, and yet this is so much of an upgrade compared to what we've gotten from Hasbro before this. The more I look, the more I like. It's resculpted in all the right places, especially the helmet. You know, you've stared at the previous Mandos from Black Series, and every time... okay, that's a pretty good... oh, that bucket. They fixed it. That makes me happy. Better proportions, better accuracy. Papa John's. Damn it, I can't get away from that joke. I forgot to mention that in the live stream, they did say that the shoulder pads have been modified to be more like the modern style, where it's a rubber piece with a ring going around the shoulder, where it's going to work much more shoulder pad-like. It's more realistic and more mobile. I was excited about the cloth cape, and I still am for the most part, but again, staring at the pictures has that flatness and bunchiness around the neck, but still so much better than that plastic thing that we've been getting for a long time, especially when it comes to adding the jetpack rig. The plastic piece would not get out of the way. Cloth? I also didn't catch that the Darksaber hilt can hang from his hip. But this picture also teases something else. Are those butterfly joints? I'm sold. What can I say? Well, I don't know what it says about me that I'm this excited about a figure that we've gotten from several different companies in several different iterations, but hey, I'm just a happy guy. That leaves only one question. Hasbro, you do eventually plan to have Boba Fett's in your Book of Boba Fett series, right? Hello? Hello? And no, I don't count that throne room Boba Fett that they stuck in Book of Boba Fett packaging. I want a proper, sleek look that we last saw him in. Next, Wicket and Chewbacca from the Return of the Jedi 40th Anniversary Retro Carded series is getting mainline releases. And it's not a surprise, but the timing is odd because Wicket is just now seeing retail, and that Chewbacca hasn't been released yet. So I guess it comes down to packaging preference, if you care about that kind of thing. I think we talked about it before, but I still don't think that the collar is removable on Chewbacca. The hair sculpt comes down and over it and seems to be a part of it in places. And if you get real close, this spike didn't get painted and is the base plastic orangey brown color. But even if it did come off, it'd look weird because the hair would come down and bunch around the neck and then come back out. Kind of like hat hair, but lower. Is there a name for that? I didn't realize Clone Wars had an anniversary this year, but I'm not going to complain about a clean Phase 2 Clone Trooper, especially if Hasbro's going to have the helmet removable and paint the head underneath. Something I did miss the first go around, the knee pads are now free floating, so if you didn't like the joint being exposed in a deep crouch, you can now take that and move it around. There's a lot more freedom involved. The freedom of a fraction of an inch, but hey, we take it where we can get it. The Magna Guard looks pretty sweet, based more on the cartoon than the movie, with the bright whiteness all over. And I guess I didn't realize just how many skeletal type droids we've been getting lately. But hey, more the merrier, especially when they can move like this. But it does bring up a lot of talk about super battle droids, and I'm there for that too, if you want to get to those, Hasbro. Padawan Ahsoka. Is there anything else I can say about this? The sculpt captures the youthfulness of the character in this time frame. It's going to be an awesome addition to your Obi-Wan and Anakin. No, not that Obi-Wan and Anakin. She was older there. The younger Obi-Wan and Anakin. But not the youngest Obi-Wan and Anakin. The middle-ish. The early middle Obi-Wan and Anakin. And then finally, as far as actual reveals go, there's ARC Trooper 5s. But this wasn't shown during the live stream for whatever reason, so I missed it during the rundown. The live stream ended, I went to recording, I edited, I put it on Patreon, I scheduled it for YouTube, and then I started browsing around, and there he was. And yeah, it's just the ARC Trooper we've gotten several times before, but at least it's more accurate here than what we saw with Jesse, with the antenna and stuff, and in that aspect, yay, 5s, give it to me. Slow down, because it is a Walmart exclusive. That always gives us the shivers, and in this case, totally justified because it sold out fast. There's always the hope that it'll pop back up or show up in stores, like the red ARC Trooper is currently on Walmart's site. You can order it right now, but it's still a toss-up. I don't know if we'll ever be super confident in exclusives like this, because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, so there's always that fear of you're not going to get it in on it initially, and then you have to worry about it. There's too much stuff going on. The Walmart exclusive Bad Batch Season 2 figures also went up at the same time, and last I looked, those are still available. So there you go. There's a good experience, but then there's always a bad experience to counteract that. And I ended up grabbing that team because I like the color schemes, I like the sculpt tweaks, and I used a little collector math to make it all balance out. See, they're all listed at $27.97, which is high. But Wrecker's also at that price when his first version was $32.99 or something like that. Take that price difference, divide it by 4 because I only want the base team. I don't need the Clone Commando at this point, and it brings it down to the same price I paid for the Imperial Crosshair, who is also still available on Walmart.com. I think we'd all still like to be paying 2019-2020 prices, but I'm gonna take the little wins where I can get them.
Boo! Boo this man! He's just a shill and justifying big toy prices. Boo! 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 Boo!
Shut up! Mind your own wallet, you little shit. Because the Shop Disney exclusive Doc Ondar went up for pre-order on May the 4th, and whew. Remember when I said it would be neat if they sculpted a onesie underneath the soft goods and they could take that off and I could make customs out of it, and if that was the case then I would buy several? That was when they said the price was going to be $24.99, but when it actually went up for pre-order, $44.99. No multiples for me, thank you very much. Gotta think they're gonna reuse parts of this for Momonadon or some kind of retro carded release, something for Star Wars. They have the molds for an Ithorian now. They have Hammerhead parts. So, I guess whatever, wait and see. But if you're interested in any of these, again, links are in the description. And that's all I got for this week. But going back to the Star Wars rundown, I did tease a little Playday goodness that somebody sent me. Look at this. It's easy to go, well, it's just a 2-man vehicle. It should be an easy thing to do in Star Wars Black Series or produce or something. And then you get something that is in that scale that is something physical that you can hold, and you realize, holy moly, where am I going to put this thing? But it's a real terrible problem to have. Like I said, I'm going to be taking a better look at this next week for a play day. But if you're interested in this at all, I'll have the links for this in the description too. You can go look at the production and everything else. Hell, it's getting heavy. And I'm getting old. So I'm going to go put this in the review station, which it's too big. I'm going to have to shoot this either down here or outside, but till then, I'll catch you on the Fwoosh.